Penny Harold and Andrew Lang. Double congratulations are in order for you guys because you got two Emmy nominations this year for sound mixing for Only Murders in the Building and Beef. So what was that morning like for you guys when you found out?
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
A barrage of like texts and phone calls and
Yeah.
emails from friends and colleagues and stuff. It was pretty fun.
Yeah, we were working that morning and we probably weren't as productive as we could have been because a lot of texts. Yeah.
You could take a short break to celebrate that. So
Sure.
We did. Yeah, we
we
did.
did.
And we warned the producers on our other show that guys, like we're
Yeah.
Well, you guys have worked together for a long time. So what is your process like when you guys work together? Do you each have a set of responsibilities or does it vary project to project?
Oh, so I predominantly mix dialogue and music and loop group.
And I mix the sound effects and backgrounds and Foley. And so that's, consistent for all the shows and stuff. And then our process is, usually the first pass we kind of do offline from each other separately, and we kind of dial in our side, and then we link up and go through the scenes together.
Awesome. Well, you guys joined Only Murders in season 2. So what did you like about the season 1 sound, and what were your discussions like with John Hoffman and the producers about season 2?
So we didn't mix season 1, but the guy who did, Matt Waters, supervised season 2. So he kind of guided us through basically as just kind of learn as you go, this style and the sound of the show. And for that show, one of like the biggest challenges is time. Because we have just one day to get through it all and have to send out our mix at the end of day 1. So it's unique because it's a very detailed show, and you just have to get through it all really fast. So Andy might have a better answer.
No, I mean, Matt Waters, the supervisor, he was good at like making sure it sounded like the show, and
Right.
And yeah, I mean, season 1, they did such a great job, and we just, tried to, keep it going, keep that trend going. So
yeah. And the production sound on Only Murders is very good too. The production mixer, Joe White, does a great job, which makes getting through all, because there's a lot of talking, so you have to get through a lot in one day, and luckily the tracks are always in very nice shape.
How much do you know about the season going in? Like, do you know what the whole murder is, or is it just kind of like
no? In fact, like
you don't know who killed Bunny when you went in?
No, because John kept, he'd always want to talk about it. Like he'd be behind us talking with the picture editor, whomever, the producers, and about the next episode,
and we're like, no,
because they're like solving problems in editorial while we're still mixing earlier episodes. Like, please don't.
No spoilers.
Like we kind of both like finding out as we mix. That's not typical. I mean, that's not typical of every show, but
some shows will see the episode before we mix, but Only Murders was kind of a busier schedule, and so we didn't always have time to watch them ahead of time. So, but we kind of like finding out like as we go, the plot. So that was fun.
Part of it.
Yeah. I feel like maybe that might also be because it is a murder mystery and you don't want to know too much, so then it affects how you mix things, right?
Definitely true.
Even subconsciously.
Yeah. I mean, there are times like, okay, we're mixing and there is something we need to know about the story. Like there's extra nuance to like one scene or the other, and so then we'll get spoilers. It's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is actually interesting mixing it and like moving forward without knowing what's going on, and you feel like you're kind of experiencing it like a viewer, which is good because people live with these episodes for so long and in so many departments, and a set of fresh ears in more ways than one is, I think, an advantage.
Well, you're nominated for The Tell, which is a really fun episode. It's the 5th one with flashbacks to the 70s, and then we have the Son of Sam game at the end where it's like a fantasy 70s set. There's a lot of music in this one too. So talk about the process for this one and what was that like?
So for us getting through it, it was, this is a very busy episode. It was probably harder than some others, maybe that weren't quite so dynamic. Um, but really on day 2, we dug in a lot, especially with the music. Picture editor Shelley Westerman had a very like clear idea of how she wanted like to play with the stems and accentuate moments, especially like specifically in the Son of Sam game. And so it was really fun going through that with her and finding moments where music could really help tell the story.
Mm-hmm. Andy, what about you?
Yeah, the the Son of Sam game in particular was fun for sound effects because he's kind of walking through the crowd and we hear some designy like murder sounds, and so just kind of weaving that all in, and there was a kind of a montagey moment too with him murdering people and then all the body falls hitting the ground, so we had a lot of fun with that. Yeah, just letting kind of the music lead and just accentuating things with the sound effects.
Mm-hmm. I did love when he's describing the game, you hear background sounds of a woman being stabbed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So what was that like, or always in the script, or was that something you guys came up with?
I'm not sure about the script. We didn't read those, but yeah, I mean, it was delivered to me that way and just kind of made it sound dreamy and kind of panned it around us a little bit. So.
Mm-hmm. I also enjoyed the speaker feedback when Oliver walks in and turns off the music.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's those little things, those little touches.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for noticing.
That was Andy, because actually we're mixing that. I was doing something a little different. He's like, no, what if you like do this with the music? I was like, yes, because I was choosing to do the opposite. And I really liked how it turned out too.
Mm-hmm. It was loud enough, but not gratingly loud that it like turns off the viewer,
Oh yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And then at the end, I love the security camera footage from the Pickle Diner, and you get like the VHS rewinding sound. It was like so old school, because it could have been like DVDs, and you don't need any of that, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, the VHS stuff, that's always fun.
Mm-hmm. The score for the show is also great, with by Sid Kosla. So what is it like working with his score and seeing where the music is put in the episodes and not?
It's a beautiful score. It's a fun score, and the moments they find to like weave the theme in and out of the score, I think, are pretty unique. And I think it's composed in such a way where it makes it to me, it's hitting all the right moments. So, obviously, like we have to hear the dialogue and stuff, but there are times, when you can really let the music lead, and it's fun to just like do those fader moves and let it just sing, So it's the score is fantastic.
Well, switching over to Beef, you guys are nominated for the penultimate episode, The Great Fabricator, the loudest and most action-packed episode. A lot of explosions and gunfire. How much did you know about the episode going in? Because I know Lee Sung-jin kind of wrote that last minute as well, right?
Yeah,
we knew more about I think we
had watched that one ahead of time, yeah. but while watching that for the first time, I was just like, what? Like, there's just some big shocking moments in there. So it was really fun. And then, I was like super excited to dive in to bring that one to life for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think like, the biggest, there's a lot of big moments, but I guess the grossest moment is Jordan's death. We get
I know what you're talking about. Yes, yeah.
And we don't actually see a lot of her death, but it grosses everyone out because you hear the bones being crushed and the blood gushing, and then you hear the obstruction alert. So how did you mix all that and find the right levels of bones being crushed and
blood? So the showrunner, Sonny, he was all about those gross bone crushing sounds. We actually kept adding more. He was like more, and so that was fun. And finding the right balance so it wasn't too crazy, but he was very specific about what he wanted it to sound like. So that one was a tricky sequence. It took a little bit of time, but I think it turned out like pretty great, because all my friends who watch it, they're just, that's all they can talk about is the gross gut sounds, you know. So I think it worked.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because again, you don't really see anything. It's all
Right.
audio.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm. Well, Penny, what about you with just a lot of like the explosions being in there, and then there's, obviously dialogue, especially when the cops are descending on the scene, and Amy is trying to convince Isaac to let her go and everything, and it's so noisy, but you still want to hear, the dialogue, and it's such a heavy scene to an important moment.
I mean, it was challenging for a lot of reasons, but the noise. But I think what we did very well was picking and choosing like how much activity to have, and you bring up the point that Jordana, she's dying off camera, right? Like it's the sound, and so for that fight too, it a lot of it's being told off screen, right? Like a lot of that story is being told through sound. So I think we did a good job of picking, like I said, how much gunfire, how many like police voices, SWAT voices to have. And so, yeah, it's those kind of choices that helped also make that dialogue poke through a little better. And, when they're talking, dialogue's king. And that's kind of, the thing for any show. So when you have all this action and all this activity, you kind of have to bring it back. And to have
Well, the final scene is another chase with Danny and Amy, and this scene has everything, because you have to deal with the car engine and the tracks and the revving and everything. There's some dialogue, and you have Bjork
Yes.
playing over everything. So what was it like working on that segment?
It's fun because the series starts with the car chase, and notably no music under that car chase, right? And or very little. And so then the penultimate episode ends with the car chase where Sonny was always pushing us to make everything sound as visceral as possible. And the score was always composed in such a way that we could play it very forward, but it never got in the way of what he needed to do and the dialogue. But that was a moment where music really just like really led. And so, we made the choices to bring some of that revving and the car engine stuff down.
Yeah, we were very strategic with when we hear the car engine or the tires, because that song is just so amazing, that Bjork song, that it clearly just needed to be the big music moment. So yeah, it was fun, like kind of just playing the engine when we at the best moments, and that climax with the song, that's when it goes kind of into free fall over the edge of the cliff. So that was a fun sequence for sure.
And then you end with the crows calling.
Yes, the crows. Yes. So an important theme through the whole season.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, the show has so many great needle drops in every episode. So what was it like working with all these amazing songs in every episode and
Fun and
maximizing them?
So nostalgic.
It was always like, oh my God, what funny song from my like young adulthood or teenage years are we gonna hear this week?
Yeah, it was fun having those songs stuck in my head, for a couple of weeks, after each one of those.
As soon as I heard the reason, I was like, I'm in.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah. What a great choice.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that I think Only Murders and Beef have in common is that they're both really great shows, or they're both really great at using modern technology, but like they have a lot of texting and just the dinging and the buzzing of everything. They do a lot of phone calls and use a lot of social media apps that you actually see on the show, and you guys are also responsible for incorporating those things and stuff. So especially now with so much social media in TV shows and movies, like was it then like incorporating those elements into your work?
Yeah, I mean, dealing with all the phone sounds and all that, it's very challenging. And our sound supervisor Chris Gomez did a great job of tracking all that, and like whose phone is what, who has what kind of phone, what's their ringtone, you really have to keep track of all that, because you can easily just like mix everything up, and it is kind of a crazy rush to the finish too, because a lot of times we don't have the visual effects for the
Mhm.
close-ups of the phones there. And so we're kind of guessing. And then like those visual effects were coming in like super last minute, and we would open up an old episode, be like, oh, we got to move it a couple frames. And
Yeah.
so it's always really, really tricky dealing with that phone
Do
stuff.
do they give you a heads up if it's going to be like an overlay on the screen or if it's going to be like a close up of the phone?
Yeah, they try to, but then it can come in last minute and it's like, oh, this is totally different now. Great. So we just got to adjust.
Yeah. Well, Penny, for you, dealing with phone calls, like Beef has a lot of phone calls. And then when you're trying to, or when you hear audio of the person on the other line, it can't be like too clear, right? So what's it like mixing that level for a voice over a phone?
Right. No, you're right. It can't be too clear. And not only because how we hear it isn't very clear, but because it makes, sometimes if it's too clear, it makes it feel not real, and also everybody's voice is different. So just because one setting worked for one character doesn't mean it works for another character. So it's always like a little, walking the line of trying to find the right EQ and compression and distortion and all those kind of fun things for each call, making it sound real and in the scene.
Yeah.
And Sonny, the showrunner has such a great ear.
Yeah.
That he kind of would guide us on like how he wanted a particular thing to sound. So I think I remember him being kind of particular about the futs on the voice. Yeah. So, if it wasn't what he wanted, he would just.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to mess it up like the perfect amount, basically.
Right.
Right. It can't, it might like cut out a little bit for like a nanosecond or somewhere. Right.
Right. Oh yeah, right. In episode 9, she's calling 911 and the lady's voice.
Yeah.
That was
right.
She has no reception there, so.
Right.
In the middle of nowhere. Well, lastly, what were your favorite scenes from both shows to work on? Or whether it's just like the process or seeing the final product in the show?
I mean, as far as favorite scenes, it would probably be the ones we've talked about, because they're the most dynamic and the most fun. We get to play the most.
The Son of Sam game. Yeah, and Only Murders, and then I mean, and Beef, it's like that. It's like almost that whole second half of the episode, right? That whole sequence from the gunfight to the car chase. It's just nonstop. Like that. That was pretty.
Yeah, and kind of unexpected, just based on everything you've seen up until.
Yeah, it did.
But it all works. So.
Exactly.
Right. That's why the Bjork thing and like bring the sound effects for that was actually kind of a nice moment. Like, it's a nice moment for the viewer, you get to like exist in this song after this really stressful episode. And then it was, kind of nice for us too.
Right. It's like, okay, just a song. We can kind of.
Finally.
Yeah. Another end of episode needle drop here. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. Well, it was great speaking with both of you guys. Congratulations again. And thanks again. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much.